When you're reading crochet patterns, you'll frequently come across an instruction that will say chain 3 or chain 2 to turn the row. And it has to do with what kind of stitches you're going to do in the rest of the row or the round. Hi, I'm Corrina Ferguson, and in this video, we're going to learn all about turning chains for rows and rounds. So I want to talk about turning chains in crochet, and what I have here is I have a sample of fabric. I've gone from a single crochet to a half double to a double and then a triple. And different patterns will tell you different things for turning chains. I've always been taught that it is 2 for a single crochet, 2 for a half double, 3 for a double, and 4 for a triple. Other people will say that it's only 1 for a single, 2 for a half double, 3 for a double, and 4 for a triple. And basically, sometimes the yarn that you're using makes a difference. Sometimes the pattern will tell you to do different things for different reasons. But you shouldn't be afraid to play around with it a little bit. Now, I want to show you what happens when you don't do your turning chains. So here on this side of the fabric, I've done my turning chains and everything lines up. And here on this side, I've either done no turning chains at all, or I've done them too short. And that's where you get like wonkiness, and we don't want wonkiness in our crochet unless it's like whimsical on purpose, and this is not whimsical on purpose. So the other thing that I want to talk to you about with the turning rows is, what does that chain at the beginning of the row count for? Does it count as a stitch? Does it not count as a stitch? And show you how to work it whether it does or not. Now, patterns will often tell you chain 3 counts as first double crochet. And then you know that that is the first double crochet of the row. Generally, for doubles and triples, and sometimes even for half doubles, the chain actually counts as the first crochet stitch of the row. For singles, that single chain at the beginning of a single rarely, if ever, counts as the first crochet of the row, just because it's basically impossible to work back into, and it doesn't add a lot of bulk, as you can see here on the edges. So let me show you turning rows when you're treating them as if it is a stitch that you're going to work, or if you're going to ignore it entirely. So we've got some double crochet here, and in the double crochet, the chain 3 that starts a row is considered the first double crochet. So we've gotten to the end of our row, and I want to show you what it looks like when you work that chain and start working your row. So here's the last stitch that we just worked, this guy right here. So we're going to chain 3 at the end of that, 1 and 2 and 3. And then we are not going to work back into that same stitch, because then we would be increasing and then things go all wonky. So we're going to wrap our yarn to double crochet. We're going to skip this first, or as some people call it, the false stitch, and go into the second one and do our double crochet like normal. And then we're going to double crochet in each double crochet to the end of this row until we get to the chain stitch that began the row. And we're going to work into that a little differently. So I'm almost to the end of my row. I have 1 regular double crochet left, and then I have this chain 3. So I'm going to work into the last double crochet here. And then after I've done that double crochet, I actually need to double crochet into the top of this chain. So the way that we do that, we wrap as if we're going to double crochet, and I like to kind of turn it on its side so you can see a little bit. So we want to go into the top of it. We're actually only going into the 2 strands. So we're not going into that bottom one. We're just going into the top 2. And we're going to work our double crochet just like normal. And then we're ready to turn and chain 3 to begin the next row. So what if we were going to work a single crochet a row here, and we didn't want to count this chain as a stitch? So what we would do for that is we would chain 1 for the single crochet, and then we would go into the same stitch that we just chained out of. So when I called it false before, now it's true, and we're just going to go into it and we're going to do our single crochet. And then we would single crochet all the way down the row, and when you get to the end of your single crochet row, if you're not counting that chain 1 as a stitch, you're just going to crochet, single crochet all the way to the end of the row. Ignore that chain 1 when you get to the end of the row, and then you just turn and chain 1 again. And those chain 1s at the beginning of the single crochet won't ever count as a stitch. So if we look at our sample that we looked at earlier, you can kind of see we've got like a little bit of a scallopy thing there. That's where those little chain 1s are, but that's not enough bulk to worry about. And that's kind of how you deal with your turning rows. Thank you so much for joining me to learn about turning rows in your crochet project. Check out our website for more great videos.